One.
Good evening, Yorktown, and welcome to the town board meeting for Tuesday, November 17th, 2020. I ask if you can, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I ask that you please join me in a moment of silence, and we're going to say a very special prayer tonight because we lost a very important member of our community. Rabbi Stanley Urbis of the Yorktown Jewish Center passed away due to COVID-19. He was Rabbi Emeritus at the Yorktown Jewish Center right here in our community at the time of his death. And he served the Yorktown community for more than 50 years. He has a very impressive biography, which I'm happy to share. He earned his A.B. in Hebrew from the University of Toronto, followed by ordination and a Doctor of Hebrew Letters from the Jewish Theological Seminary of America in 1962, and a subsequent M.A. in Pastoral Counseling from Iona College. He was a founding member of the Education Committee of the Solomon Schechter School of Westchester, which is now the Leffel School. He was a longtime member of the Westchester Board of Rabbis. He served as the chair of the Joint Placement Commission on the Rabbinical Assembly and was a colleague and mentor to clergy of many, many faiths in Yorktown for a half a century. He was a lover of Torah and of American history, and he was a kind and wise advisor to his congregates, friends, and many others. He was also an exceptionally moving funeral speaker. He's survived by his children and 12 grandchildren's 2 devoted nephews and many others and close family friends as well. And so I ask tonight that we have a special moment of silence for Rabbi Urbis and all of those who have been impacted, millions who have been impacted by COVID-19 this year. Thank you. We'll go to reports. Begin with the topic of conversation that we can't seem to get over, and that's COVID. The numbers continue once again to climb. Today, we received from the Department of Health 20 new active cases for the town of Yorktown, bringing the total active caseload now to 133. At this point, I believe that we've actually surpassed our high of active cases from the spring. So the second wave is clearly here. The town of Yorktown remains in a state of emergency. As you can see, Diana Quast and I, our town clerk, are both wearing masks. We are wearing masks because we have a new policy that we have passed a resolution for, the town board did, which requires masks at all of our town parks, recreational facilities, and town buildings. On Friday, I was joined by our county executive, George Latimer. We provided a more comprehensive update to the community about COVID, both here in Westchester and across Westchester County. And as we saw the first time when we were doing this round 1 in the spring, life in COVID moves very, very fast, especially for government. And so the things that we talked about on Friday have continued to grow as we entered Monday, yesterday, and of course, today. That update can be found on the town's Facebook page, YouTube page, and on the town's website. I encourage all of our residents to continue to monitor those avenues of communication as we continue to provide information as it becomes readily available. On Friday, I'm going to be joined by another Dr. Amler, not Shalita, who's the Commissioner of Health, but Robert Amler. Dr. Robert Amler is one of the deans at New York Medical College. And for those who don't know, he was actually the former CDC director. And so he's a wonderful, wonderful resource, a great friend of mine. And he will be joining me Friday at 4 p.m. as we provide another update to the town. Here at Town Hall, we all know there was a storm that came through on Sunday. One of the results of that storm, unfortunately, was our phones have been down. We have a trouble ticket into Verizon. We have Verizon trucks out at Downing Drive right now in a manhole trying to rectify the situation. But right now, we are aware. I've received many emails. I'm well aware that the phones remain down. If you do need our assistance, our emails are working, or you can just email me directly at mslater@yorktownny.org, and I'm happy to put you in touch with the specific department that you're looking for. From our water department, the Water District will begin its annual water leak detection tomorrow night, tomorrow night, the 18th, beginning at 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. This work consists of staff listening on valves and fire hydrants, all within the town easement. Staff will be in vehicles clearly marked, and it's anticipated for this work to be completed over the course of 7 nights. This will be posted on the town's website. It's already been posted on our town Facebook page, as well as the Water District website. And we will continue to keep the community apprised of that operation. I'm happy to report that the new Kubota has arrived for our Parks Department. I want to thank Councilman Tom Diana, who is very, very helpful in that frankly ordeal as we work with the different companies and our Parks Department to get them the equipment they need to continue to provide important services for the public. I want to go back to Sunday storm. As I mentioned, our phones were out. Statistics from Sunday storm: we had 1,000 NYSEG customers lose power, 56 Con Ed customers lose power. Thankfully, all have been restored at this point in time. Telecommunications, though, continues to be a problem. Those again, and we have our Highway Superintendent Dave Paganelli with us. He can probably give you a better education on this. But the telecommunication lines are indeed different than your power lines, and we are continuing to work with Verizon. As you again, the town hall is specifically suffering in that case, as well as Optimum. Again, if you have any specific issues relating to storm damage for your telecommunications, you can email me directly, and my staff and I will elevate that to our municipal liaisons. But I do want to thank our highway superintendent and our highway crews, because on Sunday night, Dave and I were in constant communication, and once the storm passed, the crews went out, and they went out to clear trees, clear our local roads, and they did a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful job. So I want to thank our highway department for that as well. On Veterans Day, we dedicated the new flagpole and plaza over at Veterans Field. It was just a wonderful little ceremony that we had, and it was great to recognize our amazing veterans for the town of Yorktown. And I specifically want to thank Jonathan Botkin, who was an Eagle Scout. This was his Eagle Scout project, and I still keep thinking of the words during his speech: meaningful and lasting. That was his goal, to create a meaningful and lasting Eagle Scout project, and he sure did. So when you drive down Veterans Road and you see the new plaza, a big thank you to Jonathan, but also a big thank you to our highway department and our highway superintendent. A big thank you to our Parks Department and our Parks Superintendent, our Parks employees, and Diana Quast, our town clerk, who were all driving forces to having that come to completion. Our Food Security Task Force met last night for the first time. It was a wonderful, wonderful conversation, talking a lot about different economic drivers within our community that seem to, unfortunately, be overlooked, and how we can identify them and educate people on the different services, not just here in the town of Yorktown, but the public-private partnerships that exist to help those in need. And it was also the first meeting of Cure 100, which is a really, I think, innovative group of advocates to fight climate change. And we had Yorktown residents there. We had residents from Cortland and Croton and Ossining, and it's a true collaboration of different communities, but all committed to combating climate change and reducing our carbon footprint. So we're very excited to hear some of the ideas that come from that group. For our seniors, really for anybody, but specifically our seniors, if you can mark on your calendars this Saturday and Sunday at noon, as well as next Saturday and Sunday at noon. Next Saturday and Sunday being the 28th and 29th. We are very happy and appreciate the partnership with our friends at Club Fit in Jefferson Valley, who have produced a series of exercise videos geared towards our senior population. And we've heard from our some of our advocates like Rosemary Patio and as well as Noreen O'Driscoll, who runs our Senior Nutrition Center, that it's important for our seniors to continue to exercise despite the restrictions and challenges associated with COVID. So in partnership with Club Fit, we've provided a series of 3 videos. Our first one, which was chair yoga, aired this past weekend. This coming weekend is a cardio video, again, this Saturday and Sunday at noon. And then next weekend, Saturday the 28th and Sunday the 29th at noon, will be a total body workout. And again, big thanks to our friends up at Club Fit in Jefferson Valley for their partnership there. This Thursday at 7 will be our CCSE, Community Coalition on Safety and Engagement. It's our listening session beginning at 7. Again, anyone from the community is able to register with the town clerk's office to address the panel and provide any type of insight or feedback regarding the operations of our police department. This is all part of compliance with Executive Order 203 that was handed down by Governor Andrew Cuomo earlier this year that applies statewide. And lastly, we have a tradition here in Yorktown, Holiday Lights Parade. And every year for quite some time, we've had a terrific celebration and kickoff for the holidays. We are working diligently with our Parks Department, and I want to thank a good friend of Yorktown, Linda Cooper, former town supervisor who now runs the Parks Department for the state of New York for the Taconic region. And we have, again, because of COVID, everything's different this year, but we're still focused on having a lights parade, and it's going to be similar to our Veterans Parade, where we had our veterans stationary and people drove by. Well, this time we're going to have our floats stationary up at FDR Park, and we're going to have the public be able to drive through and hopefully catch some holiday spirit during this very challenging year. And again, I want to thank Linda Cooper. I want to thank Jim Moderano for their help, and Pat Caparel, our town comptroller, as well. We are still getting floats registered, so if you'd like to put in a float, please you can contact my office or the Parks Department to register your float. But that's a very, I think, important tradition for us to continue here in Yorktown, especially with the challenges of 2020. And I can't tell my son this, but I hear we're going to have a special visitor stopping by from the North Pole, and he always pays our town a visit. This year, despite all we're going through and his very, very busy schedule, I hear he's going to make a special visit again on December 5th to say hi to the residents and children of Yorktown. And that concludes my report to the town. We can now go to reports from the town council. I'll start with our councilwoman, Alice Roker.
Thank you, Matt. I just want to thank the veterans. Last weekend was really wonderful, seeing them sitting on the bench, being able to drive by and wave at them. And I think we tried to drive by 2 times, but it was bad. And then on Wednesday, the actual Veterans Day, the VFW, they were very kind and provided refreshments after the flag raising ceremony. It is so wonderful to see the number of veterans we have in Yorktown. And I want to thank them for their hospitality.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll go to Councilman Ed Lachterman.
Fantastic. Thank you, Matt. Well, Alice, I will have to throw a shout out to the Lions who did the hot dogs on Sunday after the parade for the veterans that were gathered as well.
Yeah.
And it was great. And let's give a, look, we have to make the best of a bad situation. And, there's a tradition of doing the parade on the other side of town. And this was kind of hard this year. The the veterans wanted to be close to their halls. So, Paul Martin, will give him a lot of credit, who organizes the parade every year, was able to scramble. Thanks to, I know our town clerk, Diana Quast, helped him out with some of the permit stuff. Our police department, a lot of work went in to make that happen and happen the way it did. We're hoping that COVID is a thing of the past by next year and we're back to a normal routine. But for the scrambling that needed to happen, great job for all those involved. And thank you, Paul Martin, for really putting that together. As we speak about veterans, our Veterans Advisory Council will pick up again this Wednesday, tomorrow. We're going to try an in-person meeting as some of the people have problems with the Zoom aspect, but we're going to be doing that at the VFW Hall. It's a limited amount of people that have RSVP'd, and our commander down there, Alex Mandira, is going to make sure everything is socially distanced. So we thank the VFW for, looking at that, putting it together, and helping us to make sure we're there. I want to give two other shout outs in particular. First, the Yorktown Fire Department, our volunteer fire department engine company 1 for the last, I want to say 4 years now, I think it is. One of the chiefs there, Jeff Wilson, came up to me, asked me as a Lion if there was anything we could do to put together meals for the homeless or in need, for those in need for Thanksgiving. And, each year we've been doing about 60 to 80 families, if I'm not mistaken, between the Lions and the firefighters. This year they thought they were going to have to cancel it. But they did get some requests from the nutrition center, I believe. And we're going to do a very, very isolated, limited setup. And actually, I think, Matt, your church has been gracious enough to let us utilize a big space that they have, so we can socially distant. They called me in to do the carving because I'll be able to knock that out alone and quickly. So we're gonna be able to feed those families and seniors in need this year again, which is fantastic. I also want to give a shout out to the Lions and the Living History Club. The Living History teacher in Yorktown every year has been helping families, and this year the need has been greater than ever. So we were able to, through the Lions, contact ShopRite, who is donating 30 turkeys for 30 families. And I believe it's the teachers from the schools are doing the sides and putting that together. So, that's another great thing, and especially this time of year when we need that help. And also another shout out to the Country House. A couple of weeks ago, I was approached. I just handed them off to Noreen, and apparently they worked out a great program that the Country House wants to do, called 100 Pies for 100 Seniors. And those are going to be distributed tomorrow throughout our senior community through our nutrition center. And it's a great project. I'm thrilled that they were able to make that happen. And I thank the Country House for their involvement with our community. And I will just end it as I've just put out 3 or 4 different things there with families in need and people that, we have a lot of food insecurity in the area right now. Whatever you can do to contribute to your local food banks is greatly appreciated during this Thanksgiving time. Those of us that have things to be thankful for, let's try to share that a little bit and see what we could do to help within our community.
Ed, do you want to talk about the number of pantries we have? Because we have a few of them, and so people can choose which one they want.
Yeah, absolutely. There are 4 food pantries in town. We have the one at the Yorktown Community Cultural Center, which only serves Yorktown residents, if I'm not mistaken. We have the Yorktown Presbyterian Church. We also have St. Mary's with a food bank. And Matt, the 4th that we usually give to is the
The Nazarene. It's
the
over
VA.
on White,
I'm sorry.
Church of the Nazarenes. Now it's the Korean church up on White Hill Road.
Thank you. So that's a fourth right in town, and there's also the VA food pantry as well for veterans.
Right.
And I know the Lions every year, along with the American Legion, have done donations there as part of our give back to our veterans who served our country. So the Church of the Nazarene, which is now, as Matt said, the Korean church, is up near Wilkins Farm.
Yeah.
Fridays only.
And open on Fridays only.
Friday afternoon.
Thank you for bringing that up, Alice.
You're welcome.
And there is also Feeding Westchester, which is another great organization. I think for every dollar that Feeding Westchester receives, they're able to supply 3 meals because they get things at a discount. And when you donate to Feeding Westchester in the name of a food bank, if I'm not mistaken, they quadruple your donation. So if you donate $20, it becomes $80 worth of credit for the food bank to be able to go in and get product.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Mack.
Thank you.
I'm going to go over to Councilman Diana.
Wow, after all that, I almost got nothing to say.
Tommy, I need to jump in because I just got a text.
See?
That Uncle Giuseppe's also donated 10 turkeys for families as well. So for the Lions, our president texted me while I was talking. Thank you, Mr. Poulin.
Tommy, what do you got?
Okay, well, first of all, Matt, I have it on pretty reliable source that when that gentleman comes out of the North Pole, you will be getting coal. Okay. And a lot of it. Anyway, the
That's my time of year, actually.
I know it.
Of course.
And just I'm kind of echoing what everybody's been saying about COVID. Look, folks, nobody, and I think Alice paraphrased it properly, is as weary as we are about having to wear masks, et cetera, et cetera. But you know what? Let's just go with it. Let's see what happens. Our numbers are rising. Let's try and stabilize them. It's going to be a tough winter, I think, from what I've seen so far. So please do your best. Wash your hands, wear your mask, and please pick up your stuff. Don't throw it on the ground where other people have to go and touch your masks and so forth. Plus, with our $1,000 littering fine, I don't think you'd want to get that.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, the Flag Plaza is beautiful. You get a chance, drive by, take a look at it. It adorns our Veterans Memorial Field there, and our 2 Veterans Halls. It's the young lad that did the Eagle Scout project is going to be going into the service. So it kind of really fit his whole personality. Veterans Day, once again, the actual Veterans Day when we went down to the field was really great. Alice is right. They had, nice refreshments at the VFW and the ceremony at the Flag Plaza. You can't ask for any more. I mean, these guys were there for us. Now the least we can do is be there for them.
Correct.
I'll tell you, the Holiday Light Parade is definitely going to be different this year. I'm really, really sorry that we all can't be together like we always have, and with Perry having his Perry, who's a great town supporter, having his little that thing's amazing. His spread that he puts out there with chicken on a stick and this and that and the other thing. God, you don't leave there hungry.
No.
I'm gonna miss that. But you know what? We're doing the best we can with what we have to work with. We're still working on the ball drop. We don't know how we're going to have that. Matter of fact, I'm going to be on a call tomorrow with the Chamber of Commerce. At first blush, we weren't going to move it from Veterans Road. We may move it from Veterans Road to the mall where people can drive up and actually watch the ball drop and the fireworks if we can have them there. I'm going to have to get with the Fire Advisory Board to see if where we can have them. But at least that way, you'll be able to drive up. Plus, our seniors will be able to just come across the street from Jefferson Village. They won't have to drive across town to see it, so it'd be a little perk for them. And the other side of town, I think, deserves a perk. People were disappointed that we didn't have the Veterans Day Parade there, but Paul Martin did put it together quickly, and it turned out good. And that's all I have.
Very good. Thank you, Councilman Diana. Councilman Patel.
Okay, let me just say something not so good about our Councilman Tom Diana, and you should laugh whatever I'm going to say, okay, Mr. Diana? As long as does not snow on my driveway on a Willow Street, let it snow, Mr. Tom.
Don't sing, Vishnu, don't sing.
All right. Anyway, I'm not going to brag anything, really. I have done my part, but I was really very angry to myself that why my Optimum and phone and all these triple pay, $99.99. I was really mad. I cannot do anything, really. But then I take a lot of leaves. A lot of leaves came from other people's homes, so I cleaned up my driveway and I took a little break to reading things about the COVID. And I think, really we have to pay attention because all this prevention has to come from the top to the bottom, and we are not receiving that kind of information from the top. But our town is doing really good, the county, so we should be really concerned, not only for ourselves, the other people, how we can help in this very difficult time. Veterans Day was so good, but we were not able to meet and speak to my family's veterans because they had the problem with the phone. But there are 3 veterans, and my son and a daughter were the first person to graduate from Yorktown High School, West Point Military Academy, served Iraq and Afghanistan. And our daughter was in charge of arranging the president's visit. She was very constantly working at the Pentagon. Also, when the vice president then and the vice president and elect president, she was in charge of her visit to the Afghanistan. So we are proud of not only our own family, but all the people, those who serve around the globe. And let me just say to one thing, our flag, the wind does not make our flag fly. It is the last breath of each soldier who died. Just make it fly.
Yes.
They died painfully, so we live peacefully. So thank you, each and every veterans, those who are serving today in the armed forces of the United States and keeping our freedom alive. So this is my little message, and I'm not going to beg any more than this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Patel.
And don't let it snow on my driveway.
Speaking of snow, we're going to talk to our highway superintendent, Dave Paganelli.
Okay, so why is he continually talking about snow?
I don't know.
I don't want to hear it.
Make it snow.
He is an angel of despair. That being said, I'd like to give a shout out to Scott and Guido from Parks. On Friday, prior to the reverse parade, myself and they were out there getting those additional flags that Tommy and Ed had requested up at Jenny Menton's behest. So shout out to Jenny as well for bringing that to their attention and then bringing it to the labor force's attention and getting it done. So thank you guys. Thank you, Jenny. And thank you, Scott and Guido. They busted their hump out there. Thank you to Teddy Devlin. As I mentioned last week, we had finished paving. We paved just a scotch under 16,000 tons of asphalt. And believe it or not, we were within 287 tons of what I had estimated, which isn't that I'm such a great estimator. It's that Teddy does a great job out there making sure we're getting what we're paying for. That being said, today we had 4,000 tons of salt put into the barn, another 1,000 tons coming tomorrow, and we're ready for winter. Paving. Next Monday, Gomer Street, Granite Springs Road, and if you come down Granite Springs Road where it intersects with Broad Street and makes the left to continue being Granite Springs, just beyond Sorrels, sort of where the Parks trailers are, that will all be milled on Monday and paved on Tuesday. From that point down to Sunrise Street, they have right now 16 road plates in the road. They've given me their assurances today that those will be taken out next week. And then the week after that, we will then be milling and filling the rest of it. So we will have no plates on the road, and everywhere Con Edison was, we'll have new roads. So I'm pretty happy about that. That worked out pretty well. And that's about it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Dave, thank you. Really appreciate your help and leadership out there, especially with your great highway department. I neglected to mention this past Thursday and Friday, the town board was together to as part of our budget process. We had our budget hearings, ultimately, which was all done via Zoom and open to the public. Ultimately, the town board did approve the which is now the tentative budget, which preserves the 0.5% tax decrease, which is great for our town residents and taxpayers during such challenging times. I think the budget is a very, very good budget. It makes some very important investments, especially for our water department with our cement relining program, and we're going to be exploring other projects as well in the coming months. And now our next step will be a public hearing on December 1st, after which time, depending on those comments, the board will be able to approve the final budget as the last step in the process. Again, I want to thank the town board for being great partners in that process, and all of our departments as well for participating.
Matthew?
Yes.
May I just say something? This is our last meeting before Thanksgiving, and we've been talking about COVID, and certainly not in a very positive way. I appreciate everything you've done in terms of letting people know what our positivity rate is so that they can care for themselves. It's not easy. I had a friend, a very good friend, who passed away, but 2020 hasn't been a total bust. The drive-by parade for the veterans was wonderful. I think we're just experiencing things a different way, but I think that there truly are so many things that we do have a lot to be thankful for this year. Thank
Alex,
you.
Councilwoman Roker, I couldn't agree more. You know, every bad situation, something good comes out of it. And I think that I don't think we have to look very hard to see, even though we've been challenged like never before, but there are some incredible stories and examples of this community that I've seen. And Councilman Lachterman mentioned Jeff Wilson. That's just one of them. Jeff and I were talking about how do we, once we started seeing that there was a need, and I said, we can't let people go hungry on Thanksgiving. I'm not gonna let that happen. So we worked together with Councilman Lachterman and some other community partners. One of the things Jeff and I were trying to figure out, how much is it gonna cost? We're gonna have to go ask for money. He had so many donations. It's the first time people were just, they're outpouring of support and generosity. It's like nothing I've ever seen. It really isn't. When you ask people for help in this community, they respond like nothing you'll ever experience in your life. And it's so moving and motivating and inspirational. And so for all those, frankly, dark days and challenging hours, it's those moments that keep us going. And it's those moments that keep me going. And, today I was over at Genesis Jewelers. They're doing their diaper drive. And Steve and Lara are doing an amazing thing for those in need down, it's really down county where most of their diapers go to, because their social programs, their witch checks and some of the other social programs don't cover the cost of diapers. And so they're collecting more than 5,000 diapers, and Steve Gelper is going to donate and match the number of diapers they collect. So they're going to be bringing down close to 10,000 diapers down. I mean, those are those little things. And I know we see, and we almost, it's not that we take them for granted because we've done them for a number of years now, but those are the things that are just so special about this community, always being there. And we talked about this in the first round of COVID, and I call it the Yorktown way, because there's no other way to describe it other than that's just how Yorktown rolls. When we see a need, we tackle it, we address it, and we're always there to help each other up in challenging times. And it's just so special. It really is.
You're 100% right, Matt. And the way the Yorktown folks come forward, it's exemplary. Even when we had the fundraiser for the police to get their bowler wraps, the guys that came from out of state were taken back with the outpouring from the community to help its police department.
Yeah.
It goes a long way. And I got a call shortly after that they're going to do a little something more for the PD with regard to the bowler wraps.
Hey, Matt, I'm sorry. When is the last time to donate diapers until? Do you know how long?
It's December. I want to say it's December 10th, I think is the date. And you can bring it right to Genesis Jewelers in the Triangle Shopping Center. I was there earlier today with members of the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber just donated 1,000 diapers themselves and some of their members. I was there with our State Assemblyman Kevin Byrne. He stopped by as well to drop off diapers, which he needs because he's got a little
baby.
And I've got plenty of diapers at my house that I'm going to be bringing over. So it's a great community effort. And Steve and Lara Gelper do just they've been doing this for 5 years now, and it just really makes a big difference for people in need, which especially during this challenging year and during the holiday season, we're always looking for a way to help others, which is great about this community. We're going to move forward with our poet laureate. We're going to bring on John McMullen. John? John, you there? Diana, do we have John? I see his name, I just don't see him.
This is John LeClerc for the site on 3205 Prompon Road.
I'm sorry?
So this is John LeClerc for the site on 32 Prompon Road.
Different John then. Okay, no problem. Do we have John? We'll talk to that John in a little bit. Do we have John McMullen, Diana?
Well, if he doesn't have it, I can say something. You want me to say it?
Well, sure, Councilman Patel. Real quick, and then we'll move on our agenda.
America has resoundingly chosen truth over lies, inclusion over exclusion, science over ignorance, faith over fear, compassion over cruelty, respect over ridicule, love over hate, substance over style, selflessness over self-dealing, freedom over oppression, until unity over division, and global outlook over myopia. I read it someplace, but I think everybody is not the same. We have a compassionate community, and we should help each other. And no matter what happens, we will survive this COVID and other problems. We are having it because America is a great nation, and we are all in this together, and we work together to make it happen.
Thank you, Councilman Patel. We'll move on with the rest of our agenda. Going to personnel. Appointments. We're going to appoint Scott Ferreira to position of maintenance mechanic. We're going to appoint Brandon Schmelberg.
Matt, were we going to do courtesy of the floor? You skipped over that.
Oh, geez, I'm so sorry. I did. I'm sorry about that. Courtesy of the floor. Thanks, Ed. Diana, do we have anyone for courtesy of the floor? I apologize.
Yes, we have Mike Matone. Sure. Who's coming on now?
Hey, Mike.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good evening, Mike. How are you?
Good. How is everyone doing today?
We're good.
We're good.
And I would like to preface that despite my jolliness and red sweater, I am not the individual that Matt was referencing earlier. So I apologize if anyone was expecting different.
You can give him coal, though, if you like.
That's not a problem. Not a problem. Happy to do so. I'm right by the road construction on Sarles, so I'll go pick some up on my way over. But I do want to thank you, Matt, the town board, Diana, everyone for the time tonight, and then providing residents like me with courtesy of the floor. We all appreciate the leadership that everyone has shown navigating us through difficult waters with the COVID pandemic, and also not losing sight of our town's need to keep our community programs not only active, but thriving in this very difficult environment. I do also commend the town on the recognition of needing to achieve a better sense of unity through the formation of the Arts and Culture Commission in order to investigate ways to bring more cultural diversity and inclusion to this town. I'm very appreciative of multiple conversations I've had with Supervisor Slater, Councilwoman Roker, about ways in which we can continue to bring progress to a great neighborhood, one where, someone like me who has a young son looks to, raise the next generation of, Yorktown residents in a place that values strong sense of community and also inclusion and togetherness. I did want to come though tonight with a little bit of concern regarding maybe a lack of communication or lack of progress or lack of continuity. Some folks that I know read in the paper, the Chamber of Commerce now has a business diversity team that was formed months ago to talk about ways to improve the level of diversity in town. And it seems sort of counterintuitive or redundant to some of the work being done with the Arts and Culture Commission. Further investigation saw that, there are multiple members of our community that put in applications to be part of the Arts and Culture Commission, and they still haven't received any feedback yet. Not whether like they'd be part of the commission or not. There hasn't been any communication to them. So I just wanted to come to the town board tonight and everyone on the town just to make sure that, throughout everything that's going on, we just remain mindful of the fact that this is a really important part of the future of our town. And we have a great opportunity to build on some of the programs that we already have as legacy programs in Yorktown, to bring more diversity to the events and the programs and even the local businesses that we have here in town. And I just don't want the work that, could and should be done by the Arts and Culture Commission to be lost. And, the Chamber has done great work through the years, but the Chamber does a lot of different things. So perhaps there's ways that we can bring additional or different resources to kind of help. Sergio he might be on Facebook more than Mark Zuckerberg with all the great stuff that he's doing to promote local business in Yorktown. But, maybe it could be a case of one man can't, raise all the ships alone. And we can really lean on some, other and new folks who are ready, willing, and able to support the town of Yorktown to really help, bring some great ideas to life and to fruition, and, continue to support our seniors, our youth, our minority populations, all the folks that we look to say, okay, as residents, we are duty bound to support these people because they're so important to the fabric of our community. So I just appreciate the time again. I'm hopeful that in, going forward, we continue to hear more great things being done, specifically with the Arts and Culture Commission. I'm happy to, be a part of that group's progress or help liaison opportunities for folks. We have people that live in town that are playwrights and educators and movie producers and people who really understand, the value of arts and culture, and really, really hopeful that, we can continue to work with the town board and the town to make sure we bring more and more great programs to the town of Yorktown going forward.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Diana, do we have anybody else for courtesy of the floor?
I'm not sure. I gotta check because we
I see John McMullen's on now.
Well, we'll get to John. Well, we'll go back to John after we finish courtesy of the floor.
Okay.
I think John lost his opportunity. Vishnu took it. So he could sit in as a councilman for the rest of the meeting, maybe.
Diane, anyone else?
I let name is Samsung, and I don't know who that is. That's what I'm trying to find out.
Many people don't have communication tonight, so maybe you're missing some.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I don't see anybody else.
All right. We have a motion to close courtesy of the floor.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Mike, I want to thank you for your comments. Arts and Culture Committee is still very much an important piece of our focus. I don't know what the chamber committee that you referred to is, but we did at one point. We talked about putting our Arts and Culture Committee together. The chamber went ahead and did an Arts and Culture Committee. We were able to merge the two together, which was, I think, an important step in that process, so that we are not overlapping with our efforts, because I think we're stronger when we collaborate and we work together, and we work together as a community. And I can just tell you that we have a lot of high expectations for our Arts and Culture Committee, and that we will be absolutely engaging in its creation. We did pass the resolution creating it, and now we need to begin that process of interviewing folks to add to it. Very much on the radar, very much an objective for, I think, this entire town board, because we all recognize how important arts and culture is to our entire community. We see a lot of things, I love talking about the Yorktown stage, because I think it has just so much potential here in Yorktown. I remember growing up and seeing, I think of people like Craig Schulman, who was a Broadway star for a long, long time. I grew up playing soccer with his sons, and going to the Yorktown stage to see him on Fiddler on the Roof. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, right? And so the Arts and Culture Committee is very much going to be a success and a great attribute for the town of Yorktown. We're excited to get it going.
Mike, I just want to also speak to you, because I did get a couple of resumes, which Matt has as well. And I'm looking forward to talking to him about the kinds of people we have in town. I agree. There are so many people who entertain in so many different fields. So with a lot of luck, we'll be able to get to that as soon as the budget's put to bed.
Sorry, I was fun.
That's okay. So they should not despair. There's so many ideas that I've talked to Matt about, because we are chock full of stuff, and we'll be talking to you soon.
And Mike, I just want to jump in. I know you were talking about diversity aspect in the Chamber of Commerce. I do not think that was meant towards arts and culture, more towards a inclusiveness in businesses, because there are a lot of different programs for minority-owned, women-owned businesses, and I don't think the chamber president felt there was a good enough representation of the people that would be able to take advantage of this. And part of that committee is to try to open the door to the communication and the conversation, and see what we could do to have a more inclusive business district within the town of Yorktown.
That's wonderful to hear, because as a resident for the past 5 years, I think one thing that a lot of residents have spoke about together has been, hey, if we have an opportunity now to bring more diversity and inclusion to our storefronts and our street fairs, it'll be just bring so much more benefit to the community, and particularly with the storefront aspect, well, both aspects of it, those can also help drive local economy. And I think that's a very important thing for us. And I know you talked about, post-budget, the local economy here is very important, and to look at arts and culture, and then also business diversity in a way that we can, help just bring more to our town. Then again, next November, we'll be talking about all the additional ways that we can help other people, because we have a more thriving economy that, is helping really turn that circle a lot more. So very much appreciated for that clarification, Ed.
No problem.
Thanks, everyone.
It's nice to have people like you live in this community. We were just talking about the Yorktown way, as Matt calls it. I'm looking forward to this committee being formed.
Same.
Yeah, and if I may, real quick, you know, a lot of people that I've talked to in the past 6 months with everything going on. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, no, okay, but just if you can just keep your comments short, please, because we did close courtesy of the floor.
Sorry, very brief. I chose to live here. I didn't grow up here. I chose to live here because of the Yorktown way. And I think, you know, that says a lot to the great work that Yorktown has done and can continue to do.
I agree.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thanks, all.
Thank you.
Thank
We're
you.
going to go over to John McMullen. He was back under his, he's no longer a spy, you know, no longer under a spy name. It's the real John McMullen. John, how are you?
I am fine, and I apologize for being late. I thought as normal, the beginning was a closed session, so
We're trying to do it. We're trying to get our business done up front, so this way people can be a part of it and see it, and it's not so late in the night, and we can take care of the closed session items on the back end. So we'll be here later, but you all will be able to move on to your rest of your lives.
Okay, this is a ditty. It's in this world of politics and chroma and the virus. It's a little different, and it's about my life here in Yorktown. Names. Only two of our indoor pets, the turtles, Ferocious the box one and Fly the aquatic one, do not know their names, or at least choose not to respond. The others, Fowler, Cocoa Cream, Ninja, and Fluffy, mostly come when called, particularly when the call relates to food. With the outdoor pets, it's different. We name them for our benefit. Rocky Raccoon, the Groundhog family, Juliet the deer, and there's a help when talking about them. We would like to be able to use names to differentiate all those that we feed. But the damn squirrels, chipmunks, and birds keep taking off their name tags.
That was good, John.
Thank you, John.
That was good.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go back to personnel to get through the rest of our agenda here. I jumped the gun on this, but we're going to go back to it. We're going to appoint Scott Ferreira to the position of maintenance mechanic as a reminder to the board and to the public. He was temporarily put into this position and now is being made permanent. We're going to appoint Brandon Schmelmer to position of police officer.
Motion.
I'm sorry, I went mute somehow. I don't know how that happened.
Wanted a motion.
Which one did I get cut off?
Schmelmer.
So we did Schmelmer. We have a motion for
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion's carry. We're going to accept with great regret the resignation of Al Vitable from the Parks and Recreation Commission, effective immediately. And again, thank him for his many, many years of service to this town, not just through the Parks and Rec Commission, but also to his, I know he was very active in the Lions Club with the Leos. He was also active with Support Connections. So many places within our community. We wish Al and his family all the best. We also will accept the resignation of Kyle Thornton, Assistant Superintendent of Parks and Recreation, effective December 6th, 2020.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motions carry. Next is something I'm very excited about. We're going to pass a resolution to authorize the supervisor to sign a 35-year extension to the New York Private Housing Finance Law tax exemption agreement with Beaver Ridge Housing Associates LP. And I'm sure that there's a discussion that wants to be had here before we pass this resolution, so I open it up to the board.
Why didn't you have the discussion, Matt?
Yeah, go ahead.
Where's
Bring it up.
Well, let's bring Adam Rodriguez on, our town attorney.
This is good.
This is
happy to summarize the agreement.
Yeah, Adam will summarize the legalese of it, but let me tell the residents of Yorktown, this is a historic decision the board's about to make because it accomplishes a lot of the objectives, I think, of this town board. It accomplishes the protection of the residents of Beaver Ridge by allowing them to continue to operate under the current program, Section 8 program, which provides housing for it's 55 older, some of our most vulnerable residents here in Yorktown. It also provides, and Adam, I don't know if you want to get into this, but it also provides a 5-year capital improvement program for the existing building for those residents, which is estimated to be a total of $750,000. And one of the other things that it does, and this has been kicking around this town for decades. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I remember the members of the board have been on decades.
There was some opportunity, but it got sour. Okay, I can talk to you sometime.
Thank you, Councilman. And for decades, seniors of Yorktown and our recreation professionals have been trying desperately to create a more effective environment to enhance programs we can offer not only to our seniors, but to our entire community. And our partners, this is a true public-private partnership. And our partners at Beaver Ridge graciously have agreed to expend a considerable amount of dollars to design and build Yorktown Senior Community Center, which is going to be able to allow us to move our recreation department out of the trailers that you heard us refer to, that I drive by every day and cringe, that we are now going to be able to move them into a professional work setting. And beneath them will be the space they need to offer a more enhanced programmatic experience for the residents of Yorktown, especially our seniors. And this is something I think of people like Tony Grasso and Rosemary Panio and Jenny Menton and just so many advocates of the Senior Advisory Committee who have fought for this for years. And the challenge has always been, how do you pay for it?
Exactly.
Yes.
And through this public-private partnership, the town's going to be able to finally achieve this mile marker without spending dollars to construct the building. And it's a truly historic, I truly believe it's a historic moment for this town. Again, I think about my good friend, Tony Grasso, and I know how happy he's going to be and proud he's going to be. And I think this is going to be a great thing. I spoke with our Parks and Rec Superintendent. I spoke with the new chairman of the Parks and Rec Commission, Joe Falcone. I mean, to hear the excitement and relief in their voices that this is finally being done. Jimmy Moderano, who's our Parks and Rec Superintendent, I think what he said to me was, because as everyone knows, his father was a councilman for a number of years, I think nearly 20 here in the town of Yorktown. And when I told him what we were going to hopefully accomplish tonight, he said to me, this is something that my father wanted to accomplish when he was on the town board. That's how long this has been kicking around. So this is a tremendous night for the town of Yorktown. This is a great night for our seniors, great night for our advocates for recreation. And again, it couldn't have been done, frankly, without our town attorney, Adam Rodriguez, who his nickname's A-Rod, and really helped me hit a home run on this one. So Adam, thank you so much for your help. Do you want to provide any more detail on some of the other items on the agreement?
Sure. Thank you for your kind words. But so, as the board is no doubt aware, Beaver Ridge provides affordable housing to seniors age 55 and over. They've been doing that basically since 1980. Back in late 1979, the town entered into this tax exemption agreement with Beaver Ridge, basically as a way to finance the development and the construction of these units. So the new tax exemption agreement will be for a period of 35 years. Under the proposal, the town will continue to receive tax payments according to a schedule of payments, basically a pilot, and the revenue to the town will not decrease. But in consideration for entering into this agreement, Beaver Ridge has agreed to design. They're going to pay for the design and the construction of a 4,000 square foot, 2-story senior community center, as the supervisor indicated. It'll be in the area, Beaver Ridge's property adjacent to the Soundview property. The construction will be up to $880,000, and that's again all on Beaver Ridge's dime, their expense. Then they will enter into, once the building is constructed, into a lease with the town for zero rent. It'd basically be a rent-free lease for 35 years to the town, no cost to the town. And the town will have to pay for utilities and internal maintenance if the town wants to paint the walls. I mean, that's town responsibility. But for the most part, this is This is no cost to the town for the life of the 35-year tax exemption agreement. Excuse me. Beaver Ridge will do maintenance and repairs to the building systems, the roof, et cetera, the structural components, do landscaping and snow removal and that type of stuff. They've also committed to a 5-year capital plan, as the supervisor mentioned, worth approximately $750,000 to improve the complex itself for the seniors that are already living there, including replacing the roof, upgrading handicap bathrooms, installing upgraded keyless entry for the laundry room, making improvements to the parking lot, installing security cameras, making the area more safe, replacing common area fixtures, upgrading their intercom system, adding landscaping. So, there's not just, as the supervisor mentioned, investment in the town, but there's an investment back into the Beaver Ridge apartments themselves. So that's sort of a high level of the agreement. And if there are any questions, I can certainly address them.
Yes, I have a question. Will there be electric generator to provide electricity into each apartment? It is not here now, okay? It's only in the hallway. And I think that's very critical because there is something goes wrong. You cannot come all the way from third floor to bottom. Those are difficult, those who have a difficulty in mobility.
Vishnu, I remember when the town asked them to at least get a generator, and this generator does what we asked it to do, which was to make sure the elevator was going, as well as the emergency lights, so that people would be able to see their way. Now I'm not sure that all that's possible with that size generator. I don't know, but I don't know how many apartments are there.
100 something, yeah.
But
let me tell you, in terms of safety, and COVID situation like that, this is the most important, element to be included in that one. Okay. How can you have no electricity in your apartment if there is something goes wrong for a day, two like that? They are the one who need the most, So let's talk about this one as the time permits.
Other questions from the town board?
Adam, I think one of the best things is what it's going to cost us each year for this facility.
Basically zero.
It's it's a win for our seniors and for our Parks and Recreations department. It's a great thing.
Yeah, I think for the town it's a great thing, but I think for the people who live there, it's an even better thing.
100%.
Two different issues here. One is for a senior center, it's not 24/7, the use. And those who are paying the rent. And I think it's really very serious safety of the well-being of those who are in the biggest need, They are not, working people. They have a difficulty many ways. You can think of it. Financially, health-wise, and, mobility, all those things, So let's do it right, Somehow they have to have something in each and every apartment, not just only in a hallway, okay?
Vishnu, I've never heard of an apartment building that has generators in each apartment.
I can show you so many of those, okay?
Where?
In other community and in a cities and a building like that, okay? You have to have electricity in their room. I'm not telling you that you have to have a stove going on, electric stove or refrigerator like that. But if they do not have in their room, I think we are really not doing a really good job. Put something solar, something. It's $10 battery, people have it like that and they use it. These are the people cannot see, many of them cannot hear it, cannot smell it. They need the most, help.
Right. Councilman Patel, I think it's important, though, that you also understand the timing, because the timing of this is critically important in order to keep those people in their current living conditions, in their current apartments. Because
I'm not saying anything else. I'm trying to improve their health and how we can help it more. Okay, there is nothing else. I know there are difficult times. The government, whoever is giving the loan, the money, something like that, they are all in a tight fit.
Councilman Patel, if we don't provide Beaver Ridge with this agreement tonight, they will not get the financing approved by HUD in order to keep
I'm happy for it.
Section 8 housing. So by trying to kick this, you're going to almost guarantee that the folks at Beaver Ridge will not be able to continue to live there, because they will not be able to continue as Section 8 housing, because they will not get the financing from HUD to continue it as a Section 8 housing apartment complex. So I understand your point. This was something that the board gave a 1-year extension on, understanding that we had to get this done by November. Adam has briefed us on this in the past, and now we're at the point where we have tangible benefits, not just to the residents who live there, which is of course our primary focus, but also to the entire community of Yorktown. And so what this does is it really does protect the people who live there, to ensure that they can continue to live there, continue to call Yorktown home, and also address some of the needs of the greater community. So this is a terrific public-private partnership with, I think, very well-intentioned individuals who recognize the importance of our community and the important role that their residents play in our community. And so I think, frankly, we don't have the time, sir, to postpone any action on this because of the HUD deadlines that the management company is up against.
Matthew,
So,
John,
can I say something?
No,
Is there any possibility?
Councilman Patel, can you let Councilwoman Roker speak? She's been trying. Thank you.
Is John Tegeter on with us?
Yes.
Why did John has to be there? Tell me.
John,
At this stage.
Hi.
is there anything in our code that would require a developer, a builder, to put generators in every apartment?
No. Nothing.
No.
Nothing
Is there any way, like when they are replacing the roof, maybe put some solar something, so they have one light in their apartment, We are promoting the solar. So is there any way we can tell the developer, if this can be included, even if you have to pay some money, Or there are people who do,
want to do something if it's not in your code.
What we can do, there are programs, I'm thinking of like E-Pace that we finalized earlier this year.
Right.
So we can offer those programs to the investment company and the management company. If they want to take advantage of it to green their buildings, they have the opportunity to do that. But correct me,
wonderful.
There is no mandate within our code to implement any of those green policies that Councilman Patel is requesting.
No.
Okay.
There's also
it's a good thing.
With solar power, if the power goes out, you don't have electricity. It all ties back into the grid.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have a power outage, I have solar.
You need your battery. They will install the battery, those who are making the money. If you don't use the battery power, whatever the solar power generator, they can take it. And when we need it, you have it there, So that's for the whole purpose of having the battery. They invest the money and then they harvest the dividend.
Councilman Patel, I recognize what you're saying. I do. That's why we passed the battery storage law, so to get us to continue to go down this road and recognize how solar and battery together can provide a critical service. But I don't think, and I think I've been trying to get I've been embracing renewable energy and we've been raising our profile as a leader in climate change as a town board and community. I think that we're proving that. But in this instance, I don't think that is a tangible result for the community that we're talking about. And so what we've done here is, again, protect the people who are there for the next 35 years. The next 35 years. You're not only protecting the people who are there, but you're protecting the next generation of residents, is really what you're doing. And also doing that with no revenue decrease to the town of Yorktown from a revenue standpoint from their tax payments. And lastly, from a community standpoint, accomplishing something this town has tried to do for decades and provide a professional recreational setting for our recreational professionals and our seniors, which I don't think that, honestly, again, I think it's a historic moment for the town.
I do too. And Matt, the other thing is that they will have to come in. John, will they have to come in to upgrade these apartments?
As part of
if they're upgrading the apartments, they will have to come into the building department, get a building permit.
Right, and Adam read off a list of their 5-year capital improvement plan. Their capital improvement plan is estimated to be $750,000 on top of the pledged $880,000 for our recreation center as well. So they're investing considerable dollars into.
Which, by the way, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but the $880,000, the $750,000 doesn't include the amount of money they're going to spend on relocating their garbage storage,
sure,
on the site.
So again,
so you're looking at $1 million.
It's a sizable investment, to say the least, that's going to benefit those residents in multiple ways, because now they're going to have also town services right out their back door, which is great. But also, it's going to impact them directly where they live. Now, I think it's important to note that at this point in time, we are still planning on keeping the Senior Nutrition Center exactly where it is in the Cappellini Center. We're not planning on moving them at all. The space that we're discussing right now and the intent of that space is to be purely recreational for seniors to use during the day and for our rec department to provide enhanced recreational programs for the members of our community.
Matt, before we go, I don't want Vishnu to think that I'm not appreciative of his offer. My feeling is that you cannot extract from somebody something that's not even in your code.
Well, this is not the issue of the code. This is we are planting the seed, so some fruit will bear, okay? And to have a good idea, because we are moving forward for good things, and let's have it all this, in a card, so we can play sometimes, and this is a wonderful thing. I'm not saying anything at all, It was a generator. There was nothing was at all, and I spent a whole day over there and a week talking to those guys and Floyd and those came in here, okay? And we invited the president, to come over there and speak to the town board. So this is good thing moving forward, okay? Good thing moving forward.
I agree.
Any other questions from the board?
Just a quick statement. I believe that the generator that they did install or have installed there does take care of the common area where the people can still get up and downstairs if possible, so that they can at least have, light for reading, et cetera, in that particular common area. Now, moving forward, maybe they will do some type of an upgrade where at least they would have some power up to the apartments, but that's totally up to them on how they're going to handle their own facility.
They could have a low voltage, power too, I mean, it's just have a couple of solar panels, you can have every room, really.
We can make a suggestion.
Yeah.
I'm happy, again, happy to utilize, we have Sustainable Westchester that's being very active in our community. We have the CPACE program at our disposal. There are ways for us to encourage them and opportunities for them that we can encourage them to capitalize on. And I'm happy to do that on behalf of the town.
I agree.
Okay. And so with that being said, if there's no other questions or comments, then we'll entertain a motion to pass this fantastic resolution again.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Yorktown. That's a big one.
That gets a big clap.
Yeah, that should get a big clap. And I know, again, Tony, I just keep going back to Tony Grasso. I just keep thinking of Tony Grasso.
Now I have a picture of Jim Moderano going from site to site looking for a place to build a senior center.
Yep. Tony and Jimmy, so many people.
There was time to build the center for the senior right at the golf courses over there. And there was some money committed by some individual and it didn't work out for whatever reason, but at least we are doing something good now.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely. Continuing with our agenda, we're going to authorize the comptroller to pay MRI Software LLC for Happy Software 1-year license and support for our Section 8 housing office. And let's see, we have a release bond, BSWPPP 06119 for Prestige Renovations, 350 Hayward Street in the amount of $500.
Motion.
Yep, we have one more motion those.
Go ahead, all of them.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then we also have one that was discussed briefly that the town board is aware of from our town clerk.
Yes. Mhm.
Trying to pull it up here real quick. Here it is, resolution. Okay, resolved, the town board authorizes the comptroller to reimburse Chrissy Pichetta in the amount of $160 for the feral cat program.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. And that concludes the resolutions before the board. We're now going to move to we have a work session component of tonight's evening. I'm happy to invite back John Tegeter, our Director of Planning. We have two, we've had this once before, but we've had two separate application proposals. These are amended special use permits for rebranding and replacing the sign and existing pumps. And we have a similar, that's at 1917 Commerce Street, which is the BP gas station. And then we have a similar application, 3205 Prompon, request for an amended special use permit on gas station for refacing of an existing MID sign to include LED gas line prices, installation of directional apertures above pumps, and refacing existing canopy. Now, we're going to begin with 1917 Commerce Street. If I think we have a few individuals on regarding 1917 Commerce Street. If you could just introduce yourself, please, so we know who you are.
Good evening. This is Al Whiting. I'm the contractor who would be doing the proposed work.
Great. Al, is there anybody else joining you tonight?
No.
Okay. Very good. And again, we have our Director of Planning, John Tegeter. So Al, this is for the BP gas station on Commerce Street, correct?
Yes, that's correct. It's an existing BP station, and it's going to be rebranded to Extra Fuels brand. And it's a pretty simple, straightforward proposal. The existing BP sign would be replaced with an Extra Fuel sign. There is a change, though. What they are requesting that they be able to post prices on this new sign cabinet by LED. It currently doesn't have any prices on it. There's no canopy at this location, so there's no work of that kind. The existing dispensers are going to stay. They will just be rebranded to Extra Fuels by applying decals and overlays on them. So that's about it. Pretty straightforward.
Great. Any questions from the board? How about our Director of Planning, John Tegeter? John?
Well, I think you'll need to discuss, and not necessarily in depth tonight, you'll need to discuss whether you want to have the pricing sign on the main pole sign.
Yeah.
That will be a change that you'll have to take a look at. The other thing is, in our sign manual, we recommend getting away from, first of all, we recommend monument signs. Secondly, we recommend getting away from single pole signs. So those are a couple of issues that normally come up when we have this type of application. So that'll be out there, and I'll put it in my comment memo for you.
Diana, have you referred out this application?
No, they have. Neither one has been referred out yet.
All right, it's got to be referred out.
I agree. So we'll refer it out.
Is there any, the size restriction, John, or a color or anything else on the LED lights?
There's I don't have them in front of me. They're in the code, and this is a town board action. There's plenty of guidance in that special permit section regarding all of the signage. Once you do the referral, I will take a look at that in terms of the square footages of everything on the site and what's proposed.
Thank you.
Diane, if we wanted to set the, I know we're going to refer it out, but if we also wanted to proactively set the public hearing, what would our public hearing schedule look like for the month of December?
I would schedule it for December 15th.
Are you going to have it back in enough time?
It gives me 3 weeks, so I will have to get it out tomorrow.
All right.
I'm fine setting it for December 15th, unless there's any objection from the board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then let's refer out, and then we will also make a motion to set the public hearing for December 15th and have the town clerk appropriately advertise that date.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, then Mr. Whiting, we'll see you back on December 15th.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
You'll have to contact the boards.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman?
You'll have to contact the various boards that this application is going to go through.
Of course.
Okay.
Yep. All right, let's move on to 3205 Prompon Street. Do we have someone to speak on this application?
Yes, good evening. This is John Leclerc with Station Glow.
Hey, John, how are you?
I'm doing well. At this site here, we're looking to reface the MID sign to include an LED price. And then we're going to also do blades above the pumps, and we're looking to do a illuminated light bar on top of the canopy's existing fascia.
Okay. And I apologize. This is again 3205. I said street. It should be Prompon Road. And John, correct me if I'm wrong. This is the mobile station, correct?
Correct, it is.
Okay. Station over by Lowe's.
Okay.
Just as a point of reference for the rest of the board and the public. Any questions from the town board?
Did we see any artist renderings on any of this or no?
Yeah, it was in the email.
Oh, is that, I saw an email from Maura when I signed in the computer before. That was it?
That was it.
All right. I'll have to open
I'd
that.
rather everyone else look at it and we get their
Refer
comments.
back. Yep.
Of course. So I think we take the same action that we just did, and we can make a motion to refer out and set the public hearing for December 15th and have the town clerk appropriately advertise.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. All right, John, we'll see you back on the 15th. If you can work with our Director of Planning, John Tegeter, to make sure that you're keeping up with the referral, and if you have to appear before any of the boards, we request that you do so.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay. So that concludes business before the board. Now we will be going into, I'm going to make a motion that we go into executive session for the purpose of interviews, litigation, and negotiations. And then we will be adjourning our meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any motion carries. Thank you very much, Yorktown. Stay safe. Be responsible. Have a good night.
Good Thanksgiving.